I just started a new job and my employer uses a 401k plan with Vanguard. Awesome. And there's an option for traditional Roth and after-tax contributions. Yep, that's right. And can you explain what an after-tax contribution is? Yeah, so most of you guys with a 401k, only 27% of the 401k plan actually comes with after-tax contribution. All of you will see traditional, and most of you will see Roth 401k, and then there's the after-tax contribution. So this is actually a really good one. Let me go and because I was teaching my client on how to do that a while ago. When you're doing the 401k after-tax contribution, be very careful because you need to track your source balances between Roth and after tax. After tax is in a completely separate pocket of money. Okay, it's aside from Roth. So when you have a Roth 401k, you know how Roth 401k just grows tax free, right? After tax contribution, it does not grow tax free. It is tax deferred. So when you're retired, you'll have to pay taxes on the after tax contribution inside your 401k. But there's a trick of doing that. And I'm going to show you this real quick. Let me nerd out for the next 2 minutes here. So 401k, this is updated with the latest numbers. This year's total contribution, I know you're hearing 23,000, all that. That's the employee contribution limit. But the total 401k contribution limit is actually $69,000. So some of you guys may be in a very high paying job. Salary making, let's say, $300,000 a year, and the employer contributes like 3%, 4%, or 5%. They can easily max out the employee contribution and get to $69,000. I have seen it. Okay, not very many people get that, and that's okay. But I'm going to explain this because some people do have this after-tax contribution. So there you go. Employee contribution is $23,000, and if you're over the age of 50, it's $30,500. So you have an extra $7,500. And that can go, as an employee, you can put money into Roth or traditional, right? And as an employer, with the Secure Act 2.0, you can actually contribute to the Roth 401k as well. But you have to be the one paying taxes on it, okay? So if you get an employer match, 90% of you right now is putting that money into traditional 401k here, okay? And then, or if you elect to do Roth 401k, you can do that too, Roth 401k. Now, there's the after-tax contribution. So after-tax contribution would be the third bucket. I used to have Vanguard 401k, and I remember I used to do that, okay? So there are two ways of doing it. One way, if you don't have a Roth IRA with Vanguard, that's what I did to make it easy to do what's called in-service withdrawals to Roth IRA. I'm going to explain that in a little bit. But if you do the in-plan rollovers to Roth 401k, so this money, whatever you put in, let's say you put $40,000 into the after-tax contribution because you make really good money. You could roll that right into the Roth 401k, but you have to segregate the costs, right? So you have to segregate what you put in as Roth 401k. You have to segregate what you put in for after-tax contribution because, again, you have to pay taxes on the earnings and interest that accrue from after-tax contribution. Roth 401k, you do not pay any taxes on the earnings or interest on it when you're retired. When you're retired, again, you'll have to pay taxes on the earnings and interest for the after-tax contribution. Make sense so far? Okay. Now, I did this route, and you want to ask Vanguard if they still do it. I'm pretty sure they still do. Okay. What I did was I opened up another Roth IRA with Vanguard. So every time I put in, let's say 40 grand this year for after-tax contribution, I'm just going to go ahead and write that down. You know what? Let me go and change the color. Okay. So I put 40K into after-tax contribution. Now, going into the Roth IRA, so every time I put money in there, it just automatically goes into my Roth IRA with Vanguard. So why is that important? Because Roth IRA is structured as no taxes on the earnings and interest, right? So all the dollars that accrue inside the Roth IRA, you don't get taxed on it. So I don't want to pay taxes on the growth or interest by putting money into the in-plan rollovers to the Roth 401k, right? I wanted to put money into Roth IRA to grow tax-free for earnings and interest inside my Roth IRA. So when I turn 59 and a half, I can take that money out from my Roth IRA, tax-free, penalty-free. So you could essentially put $40,000 a year into the Roth IRA as a in-service withdrawal. And you don't get penalized for it, so you don't get taxed for doing that, okay? And it also doesn't count towards your contribution. By the way, did you know that almost 30% of Americans don't budget? Guys, whether you make $50,000 a year or $200,000 a year, the very first step of your financial independence journey is to create a budget. So I am so excited to announce my partnership with YNAB. YNAB is not just a budgeting app that can track your income and expenses, but it can even help you create a plan to pay down your student loans, car loans, personal loans, or credit cards a lot faster. Budgeting doesn't need to be stressful when you become intentional with your savings and spending. As a financial coach, I always recommend you give every dollar a job, and YNAB can help you do just that. So if you want to get out of the paycheck to paycheck cycle, get started with YNAB using the link in the description below and start your free trial now. Okay, so you have to be very careful about this though. Get a spreadsheet if you can, and just keep track of how much money you put into the after-tax dollars. Okay, and once you want to keep track of how much is going into the traditional, how much is going into the Roth, and how much is going to the after-tax. And if you get to do this automatically every single month or every single time you get paid, this is going to be really easy for you. All right. Not at first. It'll take you a couple months just to get used to it. So really good question. It's so awesome that you get it. Not very many people get it. Just be careful. One more thing I want you to be very careful of. Okay. If you get an employer match, remember, if you put too much money into the after-tax contribution and you already maxed out at $69,000, you're gonna lose out on the employer match. Okay, so that's why you have to kind of under contribute just a little bit if you have a pay increase coming up, and so you have to kind of manually calculate how much money is going into, let's say, Roth 401k, and then you get a employer match going into traditional 401k, and then whatever money you have left, you want to put into the after-tax contribution. You have to make sure this after-tax contribution is less than your employer contribution or employer match, okay? Because you don't want to put all of your money into the after-tax contribution and then you end up missing out on the employer match. That is the last thing I want you to do. But really great question. Good luck to you. I used to do this. It was great when I did it. 2017, I contributed $54,000. I did a video on that last year. 2018 was like 55,000, and then 2019 was 56,000. So it was a really, really great after-tax contribution to catch up on my retirement. So if you're looking to catch up on your retirement, ask about after-tax contribution with your employer.